Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to Superhero Sitdown episode 15, where I sit down with someone who loves superheroes and we talk about the things we love, which is superheroes. So, guys, on today's episode, I have a very special guest over from Collider Studios. I have their host, John Rocha. Say what's up, John.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Happy to be on. Thanks for having me on, man.
No problem, man. Guys, I don't know if you guys know, but when I first started watching YouTube and falling in love with film, I fell in love with the channel AMC Movie Talk. Now AMC Movie Talk has called Collider, and now John is the main host of one of my favorite YouTube channels out there. So guys, make sure to check out Collider. Links will be in the description, and make sure to check out John on Instagram as well. So John, just to give the audience a brief background of who you are, explain to them who you are, what do you do, and where can my audience follow your content?
Yeah, well, I host and produce and write for Collider. I've been doing that for the last 2.5 years, full-time for the last almost 2 years now. And I was all over the sphere for a while before I got on Collider. So you would have seen me on other sites like Screen Junkies and Hyper RPG. Did a bunch of stuff all over the place before I got into this. I'm a voiceover actor. I'm an actor. But I just kind of found a calling to do this now and really enjoy talking about movies, television, sports, entertainment, what have you, and of course being a part of the Schmodown as well. So all of it, being the outlaw there on the Schmodown, all of it's been a blast. So yeah, that's basically what I do. Talk a lot about, knowledgeably about a lot of the entertainment stuff going on in the world in movies and television and sports.
That's awesome, man. So John, I would say, from an audience member that has watched a ton of your content, I would say that you're a pretty prominent figure within the YouTube community when it comes to films and entertainment. So how did you get to that point? Every superhero, every villain has their origin story, and I want to know what is your origin story?
Well, to be honest with you, my origin story is due to Christian Harloff, who was the scientist in the lab who discovered me. I was coming out of a terrible 5-year relationship, and I was kind of working as an actor, but not as successful as I was hoping to be, and just kind of living my life. And I wasn't in the best of places. And then I don't know where Christian Harloff, who I'd known since Florida State, since college, we'd kind of seen each other through LA a few times. But one day he called me up and he's like, "Hey, man, I got this Star Wars show over at Geek Nation. Do you want to come on and be a guest?" And I'm like, "Well, listen, I'm a fan. I'm not a crazy fan about Star Wars. So I don't know if I'd do well." And he's like, no, that's what we want. We want an everyday fan. And so I started coming on as a guest every few weeks. And then eventually Christian liked my chemistry with Tiffany and said he's going to leave the show and asked me to take over. And from there, I kind of really enjoyed doing that and started pitching my own shows there. I did one with Yuri Lowenthal, and then eventually Tiffany left, and then Riley came on, and we started doing Far Away there. So, and then I started doing smaller shows. So piece by piece, I started to enjoy what I was doing. Harloff was really great at supporting me and giving me tips and pointers, but I was also driven and ambitious. So I was driving all around town to be on every show I could be on, because other people, they want to take it slow. And even Christian was like, just focus on one show. And I was like, no, I don't have the time. I've got to, catch up, because other people have been in the sphere longer. And so I've got to be able to match what they've done in hours as much as I can. So I was driving all over. I would do 5 shows a day. I would work until 11 or 12 o'clock at night. It didn't matter to me as long as people got to know me and my voice. And thankfully, a lot of people at different channels enjoyed what I brought to the table. And then piece by piece, I built my brand in that way. And then now eventually got hired full time at Collider to produce and host and write. So it's been a blast.
What a story. What a story. I mean, I think from your origin story, I think we can all take away that putting in those extra hours that no one else would put in, it pays off in the end.
It does. You sacrifice a lot, because I also started 3 other podcasts, and that's outside of Collider. So like my week from Monday through Friday is incredibly busy with a lot of stuff, and then on Saturdays and Sundays is detox time or Schmodown time. But yeah, I put in all the hours that I need to put in to kind of let people know my dedication to this sphere.
Yeah, and it's something that you can only do with something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are in career paths that they're not really that passionate about, and then they look at people like you that are putting in all these insane hours, putting in this insane amount of work, and then they question like, how does he do that? Only if you're passionate about it. And
Yeah.
John, all of this hard work has definitely paid off. You've gotten the chance to interview Yuri Lowenthal, who
Yeah.
is, those of you guys who don't know who Yuri is, he is the main voice actor for Peter Parker in Spider-Man PS4. You've met Dwayne The Rock Johnson
Yeah. Yeah.
recently, Sir Devils over from Game of Thrones,
Yeah. Liam Cunningham. Yeah.
Michael J.
He's great.
White, all these celebrities. So,
Mhm.
John, out of all of these celebrities that you've met and interacted with, who has
Yeah.
been your favorite interaction so far?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, obviously, Yuri and I hosted a podcast together.
Yeah,
So to me, Yuri's never been like a celebrity. He's just such a great dude that he never makes you feel like you're talking to someone who's got like 400 credits in the voiceover world. He's
yeah,
a very chill guy. It's tough to choose one, obviously, but I'd be remiss not to say The Rock because The Rock is everything to me and Dwayne Johnson. And I kind of model what I do after Dwayne Johnson as he works so hard when he really doesn't need to. He could
yeah,
just focus on movies and be fine. But the fact that he focuses on TV, focuses on entertainment, focuses on so many things, produces game shows, he's a model for a lot of us who are trying to like
for sure.
make it happen, you know? And so, and meeting him a couple times, he's such a nice guy and he's willing to give you the time to do anything. Like he stood and did a promo with me for the Schmodown the first time we met, and we took a picture holding the tag team belts, or holding the belts rather, and then well, the second time we had a promo off with other people from the Jumanji cast, and The Rock judged it. So I thought like he's just a great guy, a very giving guy, and certainly an idol of mine. In the world. So yeah, that I mean, if I have to choose one, right, it's certainly
Yeah.
The Rock. But everyone else has been incredible. I've rarely had a negative interaction with anyone celebrity wise in this sphere so far.
And that's awesome to hear because with all of the people you've met, us from looking in from the outside, we just see like the celebrity, their name. But when you actually get to know them, it's nice to hear that, they're genuine, good people.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's one of the great things about discovering people, certainly.
So, John, now moving over to the main topic of today's episode, which
Mm,
is some pretty big news dropped this week. And this is regarding the casting of the new Batman. So, John,
yeah.
Robert Pattinson has been cast as the new Batman. What are your initial thoughts? Because the internet has been going crazy.
Mm,
Petitions have been blowing up to replace him. And
yeah.
it's nothing new because it's happened in the past with various actors that have blown it out of the park. But I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear your thoughts of the new Batman.
Well, I'm excited for a new approach to Batman. Like that's the thing that first got me excited is that you
Yeah.
hire Matt Reeves, who I loved off the Planet of the Apes trilogy. Obviously, he did the last two, not the first one. But I like his style. I like his approach to things, and the fact that they're focusing on him being a detective that excites me as
That's
well because those are the things that always brought me to Batman. It wasn't the fight scenes in comics. It was about the psychological study and exploration that he does within the comics, right? And discovering and figuring out who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth, and where the clues lead. Those are the things that always excited me the most about Batman. So to hear that this is the route they're going on, then that got me excited. And then hiring Robert Pattinson, who has come on so much since those Twilight days with
yes.
his independent film work and his work overall as an actor. He's not one of these people that's in the tabloids all the time. Ever since the Kristen Stewart stuff kind of died down, he hasn't been in the tabloids all the time, making an ass of himself or drawing attention to himself. He's just been focusing on the work. And I know a lot of people want to push back with this whole Twilight crap, which was years ago. But I
Yeah.
would encourage those same people to go, are you the same person you were 8 years ago? Are
Exactly.
you the same person? Did you grow up as well? Did you mature as well? And how many of you would turn down being the lead of a 3 film series or multiple film series rather that would set you up for life? A lot of people at a young age wouldn't turn that down. He's spoken about how didn't have the greatest of experiences on there, doesn't revere these movies, but they did give him the ability to be in the public eye and to be seen as a leading man.
Yeah.
It is directors and producers and casting directors who've seen his talent to bring him onto these independent films and give him weight. So to me, I'm excited about this because I don't think we're going to get like the standard Batman that we got before, the large, big busting
Yeah.
through or making the jokes or doing the voice. I think we're going to get a Batman that is so much more grounded and so much more realistic and vulnerable that we can connect to and follow. And just to finish this diatribe up, what I'm excited about, and I said this on Movie Talk on Friday when it finally broke that it was official, that we're finally going to get a Batman, I think, that is the star of his own series. Every other Batman series, the villains have always been the star. And I am excited that this feels like they're going to make Batman the central figure and everyone else is around him, but Batman is the central figure. And I hope that's what ends up happening here.
I mean, for sure, I would 100% agree with you. When I first heard the news that he was the new Batman, I was questioning it. I was like,
yeah, sure,
because I haven't kept up with Robert Pattinson, but it took me a couple of days to really study him, what he's been doing since Twilight, Good Time, The Rover, Water for Elephants, and this guy has been stacking up his list of indie films, and the fact that he's cast as the lead in Christopher Nolan's new movie that he's developing, that goes to show that he is a big time actor, and it was only a matter of time before he jumped onto the big screen again with a big franchise such as the Batman. And I'm super excited to see him play the Batman because I feel like, again, coming off of what you said, we're going to get the world's greatest detective. We're going to see Batman, investigating certain crime scenes, looking for clues, kind of like the Arkham games. And that whole detective side of Batman is something we haven't really seen before done on the big screen. So I'm super excited. And that was a really good call out that you made, how finally we're going to get a Batman that's the star of his own series. Back with the Christian Bale series, all of the villains were the main ones. Bane, Joker. But now this is a Batman we can ride on his back as he's going to be the guy that we're cheering on. And with this new Batman solo film also being in development, there's also been reports claiming that the Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, they're all going to be the three big villains of this movie. So I'm also excited to see his rogues gallery come to fruition and finally see, those big villains here, just giving those clues here and there in this Batman franchise.
Yeah, and it feels like they might be doing Long Halloween from that Forbes article. If maybe your fans haven't read that Forbes article that dropped on Friday, near the end of the day on Friday, it highlighted the fact that there would be mob villains and other villains or mob leaders and other villains involved in this thing. So if there are people like that you start to think of yourself of the Falcones, you start to think of the Rogues Gallery, like you said, of Batman villains. So certainly Long Halloween, Jeff Loeb's Long Halloween is now in play, or Dark Victory is in play. These are all in play now, and I think it's a great, interesting way to walk into the world. Like we saw with Marvel, right? Spider-Man was handed to us without the origin story anymore. It's just Spider-Man already. And then occasionally we'll have allusions to what happened before. So if that's what they do with this Batman, the Batman's already Batman. It's already handed. We don't need to see the Waynes die again. We're in the world. Then I think this is a great way to kind of do a new approach into Batman, and I'm excited about it. I hope they get it right. I hope they cast it right. I hope the script is incredible. I trust Matt Reeves. I just hope the script is good.
Yeah, but after hearing that report of all of these villains making their way into this first installment of this solo Batman franchise, it kind of gets me worried a bit because DC hasn't had, DC has struggled in the past before with dealing with so many characters. And with Batman, who has the best villains in all of comics, and throwing in 3 of these villains inside this movie, it has me kind of worried because DC hasn't really proven themselves to deliver on a film with so many different important characters.
Well, I think that's absolutely a valid concern to have, and certainly when you look at the track record, we haven't seen them do well overall with that kind of situation. So that being said, though, they're on a bit of a run here with Shazam. They're on a bit of a run here, starting with Wonder Woman. Of course, Justice League is an anomaly. That's from a past thing. But you have Wonder Woman. Aquaman made $1 billion, whether you like it or not. And Shazam made a good amount of money. And now we have the Joker movie coming out soon. DC is and I hadn't watched the trailer in a while, and I went to see the Godzilla movie yesterday, and to see the trailer on the big screen in IMAX, I just was like, the trailer itself should win an Academy Award, let alone
Yes,
the movie, you know?
that movie is screaming Oscar nominations.
Oh, yeah. Or yeah, exactly. And so you go into the situation with all these characters coming into a Batman movie, and I get it. You're like, oh, it's too much, too much. I don't think so. I think we all know the characters now, and I think this is the shorthand that studios are starting to slowly understand. They don't need to reintroduce characters to people. People now are so comic book knowledgeable or superhero knowledgeable that when they walk into a movie theater, they understand, at least have an idea of who these characters are so that they have a shorthand before the movie starts. And so when they see these characters on the screen, they're like, oh, yeah, I know who that person is. I know what that person does. I know their connection. Boom. And then we just go with the movie. And I think that's why you hire someone like Matt Reeves, who was able to create so many different and interesting characters in the world of Planet of the Apes. He can do the same thing here and litter the world with a bunch of interesting actors and interesting characters and have them connect in a way that makes sense for the overall story. So, yes, DC in the past, not the best track record, but I also think hiring someone like Matt Reeves and letting him do his thing, hiring someone like James Gunn and letting him do his thing for Suicide Squad shows that they have a different approach to it now, and they're hiring the right filmmakers to bring that out.
Yeah, and another thing as well is that they've taken their time on this movie. This Batman film was originally supposed to come out in 2020, and now they've backed it up. Matt Reeves has taken his time on the script.
Yeah.
We finally got the casting, and it looks like DC is now taking their time, whereas before they were very reactionary.
Yeah.
You know, a film would come out and they would announce like 3 new films, a Supergirl, Nightwing, and all of these films. Whereas it feels like now they're taking their time and they have a plan, more so.
Yeah.
But do you feel like we're ever going to see Robert Pattinson interact with other DC heroes?
Because it's a good question.
There's still that extended universe that as fans, we always want to see. We want to see Superman and Batman interact. So do you think we'll ever see him interact with other DC heroes?
Well, I think it's interesting because people are a bit spoiled now because of what Marvel did.
Yeah.
10 years ago, it would be a fantasy upon a fantasy upon a fantasy that you'd ever see Batman and Superman in the same movie. So the fact that people now are like, we need to see it, I want these things to connect, it's a bit from a spoiled place, and not in a negative way. I think that's a good thing that Marvel has given us a blueprint to a degree of what you can do if you get it all right and have a shared universe where everybody's can connect and have these great moments together. With DC, I think DC rushed it. Obviously, I think pretty much everyone feels that way. DC rushed it, kind of fumbled the ball a little bit, and now they have to do a little bit of backtracking and then go forward. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think what they're doing now is that. And so with Robert Pattinson, it depends to me on where they set this particular, the Batman, where they set the Batman, what year, what time. Is he supposed to be young and he's still in his formative years? So is this the 80s? Is the 90s? You know, some people have a quiet belief that Joaquin is going to be his Joker.
Yeah.
Because if they go all the way back, this looks like a 70s Joker. Does Batman come on, or an 80s Joker? Because I think it's 80s Joker, rather. And so having Batman come on during that time, who knows? You know, and when we see Bruce Wayne, I think that little kid is Bruce Wayne when he tries to make him smile.
Yeah. No, it was confirmed that he is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
The casting was out.
Yeah. So if that kid's Bruce Wayne, then is Robert Pattinson that kid later on in life? We'll see. So, yes, I think it's a possibility down the road, but I think they want to wait a little bit to let it settle down and let people's kind of memories of Affleck as Batman kind of wash away. Everything, fans forget things in time, and so I think that's what they're banking on, and I think that's why they slowly moved Affleck out instead of making a big cut. They wanted people to get used to the idea and then finally make it official and then move him out. They're doing the same thing with Cavill. Eventually, Cavill will be announced that he's not coming back as Superman, and that'll be that. And it'll make more sense because Momoa, Pattinson, Godot, these are relatively around the same ages. So then you can recast Superman and then go from there, and they'll recast Flash as well. I don't think Ezra's coming back. No. So and then we'll see what happens with Green Lantern and Jeff Johnson's Green Lantern. We'll see what happens with that. But certainly, I think it's a possibility that Pattinson goes down the road. But let's see what the first film is like, and then we'll worry about it as we go along. You know, so. Yeah,
because if this first film comes out strong and it's well received with fans, I'm sure they have a trilogy in plan for Robert Pattinson's Batman, because I feel like with them now, kind of rebooting their universe in a way. I feel like now they're gonna use his Batman as like the Iron Man of this new version of the DC universe.
Possibly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they already have it with Wonder Woman. Don't forget
Yeah,
it. I think a lot depends on how Wonder Woman 84 does. I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard the best things, but of course we didn't hear the best things for the original Wonder Woman, and it turned out to be incredible. So
yeah,
who knows what the motivation is from people who are letting some of that slip out in the rumor mill. But to me, I think a lot depends on Wonder Woman 84. If that comes out and it blows the doors off again, then she is one of your strong rocks to build your
yes,
foundation on, and then we'll see what happens with Batman. Because honestly, Batman can just be doing his own trilogy, and does not have to connect up with the rest for quite some time. Maybe in between movies there are appearances down the road. Maybe he can slide in here, possibly. But I think you have to get the first movie and the second movie, really establish him, and then move on. Because remember, BBS happened as a reaction to Man of Steel. Man of
yeah,
Steel is a good movie. A lot of people like Man of Steel. Some people didn't like Man of Steel, but they could have kept going with Man of Steel, but they overreacted, got scared, brought in Batman, and then messed it all up. And we don't want to rush Pattinson into hooking up with other heroes unless it organically makes sense for the story and not makes sense for the bank account of the studio.
And another thing that's scaring me is that I feel like now with them kind of like rebooting their universe, they've already recasted Affleck. It's a matter of time before they recast Cavill.
Yep.
And it feels like the best parts of their universe might get swept away with it. Because if they recast Affleck and now they're going to recast Cavill, what's going to happen to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman? What's going to happen to Jason Momoa's Aquaman?
Well, I think those are solid. I think those are solid for now. And Momoa's not going anywhere. Look, we made $1 billion. Momoa is quite happy being Aquaman.
Yeah.
And they're not going to move him off. They like his chemistry and they like his approach to Aquaman. It's such a different approach to Aquaman. So, and it helps with Justice League to have someone who's more of a bro, and a 2019 bro, which means he's woke, but he also can be like, totally a dude. So that's a good combo. And Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot just naturally radiates leadership as a human being,
Yes.
let alone as the character, right? Wonder Woman. She, on her own, Gal Gadot, in any interview, she radiates an ease of leadership. And so they'll be fine, I think. They're not recasting those two at all. And I think the fans would revolt if they thought about recasting
Gal.
those two, yeah. Ezra can be recast, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see Cyborg.
We haven't heard anything from him, and low-key, they're just like keeping it quiet over on the Flash side. We haven't heard anything from that Flash film that's been delayed like 3 times now.
Yeah, it's done. To me, in my opinion, I think it's done, but
Yeah. And I feel like another big player moving forward is going to be Shazam, because even with Shazam's trilogy, that it feels like they're going to do something like that. It feels like that's like its own. That's going to be their own little connected, universe. Because now you have Shazam. We have a Black Adam movie coming.
Yeah.
And then once you see those two collide on screen in Shazam 2 or Shazam 3, or maybe Shazam versus Black Adam, I don't know what they're going to call it, but that'll be our sense of, connectivity within the DC universe. Yeah,
totally agree. And I can't wait to see that. And, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson being a part of this thing is really huge. So I don't know. He's going to make that happen somehow, some way. But it needs to happen sooner rather than later because The Rock's getting older.
Yes, he is.
These physical requirements on his body. Remember, this isn't a man who just walked into being a movie star. He wrestled for numerous years, and before that played football. So the wear and tear on the physical stunts and demands on his body are a lot. And if we start to slide him into a superhero universe, we need to do it sooner rather than later, or else it's just not going to, I don't think he's going to be able to consistently do it for multiple movies. It'll ask too much of his body. And so, I think this all needs to play itself out. See, we need to be patient. Let it build itself out. People forget Marvel. Thor had his own thing. Iron Man had his own thing. They established all these things first before they brought everybody together to do the Avengers. And then from there, other things got established. Brought them all together for Ultron. Other things got established. Other things like Infinity War and then Endgame. So we just need to be patient and take our time. Let DC do its thing and don't rush it. The fans sometimes can get a little too impatient and causes problems. And then the same people, and that influences the studio. And then the studio goes, well, we rushed this thing because you fans wanted it. And now the fans turn on the thing you rushed and you know, at the end of the day, that's what matters because fans are the ones who pay the tickets to go see this stuff.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like the reason Marvel is where it's at is because of the art of the slow build. You
Yeah.
know, after Iron Man 2, we got that post-credit scene where it didn't even show Thor. It just showed his hammer to know
Yeah.
that he's coming. And then
Right.
it builds and it builds. And then once you get to something like Endgame, it's like an explosion of anticipation, excitement, everything you ever dreamed of. And man, with DC having, I think, in my opinion, the best comic book characters,
Yeah.
that's something that we're all dying to see. We want to see it slowly build. We want to get to know these characters, get to love these characters, and then to see them all come together with something big like a Justice League or a Justice League 3 or something where they fight Darkseid, something massive to bring that whole universe together is something we've been craving for. But again, we have to be patient. We have to let the art of the slow build play itself out, because when it does and when DC, takes their time and everything builds, all the cards fall in place, then DC is going to have a really, really bright future.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's got to be about patience, you know. I think when they first started out with this universe, it was like I don't know, what's the word I want to use? It's like a young kid trying to lose his virginity so quickly. It's like, don't rush it, son. Don't rush it. Take your time. Take your time. And sometimes that can, you get a mess. And so, now that I think Marvel showed what it could be. And listen, I don't want to create like Marvel versus DC. I'm not saying that.
Oh yeah,
what you have to know is that one side did it correctly. Now I know the knock is, oh, they're all the same movie, blah blah, which is not true. But people want to push a narrative. Let them push a narrative. Yeah. But I think the blueprint and the box office and the pop culture footprint that the Marvel MCU has on the world is undeniable. And as a studio, Warner Brothers and DC, they want to have that same kind of impact. And I agree with you, Matthew. They have all the characters to do it. The reason people complain about the DC movies is because we love these characters so much, and we want them to be serviced in a way that is respectful to those characters and their mythology.
And the thing is that we love them, and we haven't even gotten to know them yet. They're still fresh. With Marvel, no one knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Right. Yeah.
We grew to love Marvel's characters through their movies, but with DC, we already loved their characters before their movies even came out.
It's a great point.
So I feel like that's where the aggravation, that's where all the hate, the negativity, that's where it comes from.
Oh, totally.
So, again, moving forward with the DC universe, do you think they're gonna slowly recast more of these heroes, such as the Flash? I don't know if they're gonna move forward with that Green Lantern project that has been in development for years.
Yeah.
But there's certainly going to be an age difference if you keep someone like Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, The Rock, Zachary Levi, if you keep them around, and then if you start slowly recasting people like, the Batman, Flash, Superman.
Yeah, I think Flash is certainly going to get recast. I'm hoping Cavill doesn't, but all signs seem to point like Cavill is going to be recast. So
the Witcher series, and
they
have no plans for it. I mean,
exactly.
John, how do you feel about that? Because, man, how do you have a studio that has Henry Cavill as your Superman and you don't have plans for him? What?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest disservice of this whole thing. And I'm glad that DC, people are loving DC as much as they are now. But what they did to Cavill is terrible, and it was terrible because he's a damn good Superman, and Man of Steel is a damn good movie.
Yes.
And even in BVS, what he's given to play, Cavill brings the real pain and angst and complexity that Clark Kent has had in the comic books when dealing with how society treats Superman or how they treat him as a entity or a figure in their world. And that's the thing that I think that the DC didn't give enough respect to with Cavill's portrayal and Cavill taking on the character. And unfortunately, in the long run, I do think it's going to be recast, and then we'll see. But maybe that works though overall, because when you can bring in different actors like Pattinson to work with Momoa and Gadot, you need a different type of Superman, possibly a different chemistry.
Yeah.
And with a different Flash, I think Ezra is just trying to find his way out of this situation, and both sides are doing the political PR thing that they need to do to get out of the situation. WB going, oh yeah, we're going to have Ezra write his own version of it, And Ezra's like, yeah, I'm going to get Grant Morrison to write it with me.
Yeah.
But eventually they're going to submit a script. WB is going to be, we don't like the script, and they're going to break ways, and they're going to say the same thing that Joss Whedon said about Batgirl when we know that he was just hired to come and help on Justice League.
Yeah.
No, there was never going to be a Batgirl movie directed by Joss Whedon. And he said, I couldn't crack it. I couldn't crack it. That's the new, what do they used to say for people? Oh, what did they used to say when actors were, dehydration. That's the new dehydration or scheduling conflicts, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I get, look, it's a PR game. Those of us who are on the inside and hear things from our sources or our friends who work at studios, like, we have the inside knowledge, but most people around the world and in the country and here in the U.S. don't. And so it makes sense for WB to push it, the narrative, or other studios push their PR people to try to put everyone in the best light, including the studio. So I can't fault them for doing it, but my job is to call it out when I think it's not right.
So, John, this is the end of today's Superhero Sit Down. Do you have any final thoughts before we end today's episode?
Just that have faith. Like, this stuff is really happening. It's incredible. Look at all the TV shows that are coming. I know there's a tendency to complain about things, but you're complaining from a place of privilege. Take it from a guy who remembers decades when we didn't have these possibilities in our world, and we were forced to go to the comic book store and create these worlds in our minds as we read them on the page.
And everyone was thinking about Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton on the same screen.
Right, exactly. Everyone was trying that. But like, now we have so many incredible actors and so many incredible filmmakers and producers and casting directors and directors and studio heads and executives who want to create the best superhero content possible. And even DC Universe, on a smaller scale, created a fantastic Doom Patrol series.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing is apparently getting incredible reviews. I haven't watched it yet, but everyone's loving Swamp Thing. Yeah, and Titans half and half. But look, that's the thing that is happening here. And then once these Marvel shows come out, now we had the beginnings with the Netflix Marvel series. Then we had the studios doing their superhero movies. Now we've got multiple. Now Disney Plus. We've got an Alfred series coming out, I think on Flix or Epix. And so you have so many things that are happening now in the world of superhero movies. I would encourage people who have a tendency to want to complain about it all to take a moment and be appreciative, at least, that you even get to complain about all this content, because it's all out there for people to consume and enjoy. So that's what I would say. It's a great, great time to be a superhero fan, but savor it, because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it may all go away, just like Westerns did way back in the 40s and 50s, or romantic comedies did in the 80s and 90s, or gritty urban dramas in the 70s. Like, all that stuff can go away at any time, and then you're back to the status quo. So enjoy it for now, and that's it. Enjoy it for now.
So, guys, 100% agree with John. What a time to be alive. It is the greatest era to ever be a human and to ever be a superhero fan. So, with all of this stuff happening in the DC world, I'm sure you guys can find a reason to be appreciative for everything we're getting. I mean, in November, we have Disney Plus coming out, where you have the biggest actors coming to film TV shows. When you have Tom Hiddleston come to film a TV show, you're blessed. You're blessed. So there you guys have it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Also, make sure to check out John's content and Collider's content. Links will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.